All right. Yes. We are back for another live open court discussion in the Counselor's Corner. I'm your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
Said that Wolf was going to be growling long and hard for this subject matter. So tonight, Monday night, uh, November 17th, we will be covering the topic, the shift, how Trump's presidency changed the black community. But welcome to our special report on the state of the black community in America. Since the election of President Trump, there have been significant changes in the cultural landscape, sparking widespread concern and activism, from the erosion of civil rights to economic setbacks and racial, the impact of the Trump era still being felt. Tonight, we'll explore these specific ways in which the Black community has been affected and give our perspective as two Black men about the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. The shift, basically, since 2024, we've seen resurgence of overt white supremacy and racial tension. Mind you, that might even went back from 2016, with many feelings that the Trump administration policies and rhetoric have contributed to a toxic environment. Let's begin our journey into the complexities of this cultural shift and explore the ways in which the Black community is pushing back, resisting, and thriving in the face of adversity. Another great topic with many personal perspectives will be thrown out. Please like and share our video. And don't forget to tell a friend or a family member to tell another friend or family member to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Still sitting at 982 subs, 18 away from the long awaited 1K. People, can we please close this out by the end of the year? 18 more subs. Trying to get before the end of the year. And people don't know, like, it's if you ain't buying them, um, and you if you're doing it organic, this is a grind, whatever, trying to get these subs, get them up. Unless you some of them people that buys them and makes it seem like your page is or your channel is blowing up, but it's pretty much been all organic, and it's been a battle. But here we are. We didn't have a show last week, so about to catch up. What's going on? Big Bad Wolf was new in your world.
just a new computer system we're rolling out at work. Some bumps and bruises. You know how it is with our new computer system, but we learning, we learning, and mastery will be had. Um, Birthday's coming up, 54. Um, I'm getting ready to bring that in a little bit of grand fashion, contrary to what I usually do. Just and it's funny. I just there was um Jimmy L. Holloway, who's a content creator, and he was talking about a clip of a female who said if a guy doesn't celebrate his birthday, that's a red flag, and she runs away from him. And Jerry made a good point. He said men were generally not celebrated like that. We're accustomed to um doing for people, because usually on my birthday lately, like when I got into my 40s, I didn't celebrate a whole lot. I was like, look, I'm content. I'm content to get some coin, so I'm gonna go to work. So when I would say, you know, I was at work and somebody would ask me, "Oh, it's my birthday. You working?" Yeah, ain't no biggie. I know when I was younger, I was birthday weekend. I'm going to Toronto. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to do some little drink. But I'm at that point now where I was at that point. Look, I'm just gonna work, get some coin, chill. And I was just talking about this before the show. I got some hours set aside at work, or set aside some some gosh, jeez, can't remember what the hell they call some vacation time. I'm like, yeah. Might as well use it now. Shoot, ain't no use in holding on to it because I never really do anything. I never really go anywhere in terms of need to take off more than a day. So I'm be out of town, be down in the DC area catching a game, and then to close out the year, I'm heading where the glitz and glamour is out there, the big lights of Vegas. So I'm trying to do things a little different this ending this year, 54, bring it in. So that and so people can see I rearranged the room slightly. The couch that used to lean up against the wall is now has found another another dwelling along the rear wall. Um, man, I'm going to consult YouTube, but I want somebody's personal, maybe professional opinion for any of you out there who do interior maintenance or painting. All the brown paint you see in that door, I want to take off. Now I thought about saying that, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to ruin the wood, so I'm doing paint thinner, and that shit is hell. So give me your advice, somebody out there. Which is quicker and more effective without damaging the wood? Let your big bad wolf know, because I'm in a devil of a grind with this shit. On nah, that's a it's a. I have pocket doors in this house, so I'm kind of fortunate. With the rest of the house being much cooler than it is in here, I close the pocket doors off in the wintertime, and I just heat this man, and I'm kind of good when I go shower, whatever it is. Like I cut my hair earlier, I just heat the bathroom, and I'm golden because to heat this costs a little bit of a fortune. And I ain't trying to spend a little bit of a fortune to heat a house in which I'm only gonna be in one room the majority of the time. But that's what I'm looking at, man. So it's steady as she goes, man. I ain't got no complaints. Never gonna have no complaints.
All right. For me, mm, last week I was getting over a cold, so when Herb said he had to work, I was like, all right, I'll take that time to recuperate. Whatever's going around, that joint could be kind of fierce. Whatever, the coughing, the congestion, and all of that stuff. And I'm like saying to myself, well, hopefully I got it early and I can ride the rest of this fall winter season out without getting sick. But you never know when you work in a school. You just got a bunch of germ agents and kids coming around you and hacking and runny noses, and then they telling you, I'm sick. Oh, why are you in here? Why are you in here? And go to the nurse's office. And, well, why did you come to school? Um, but that's just one of the battles. And it's getting towards that year again, holiday season's coming up. And, you know, it's not that old trick that used to work for us when the holiday season was coming. Like, you had to be on your P's and Q's and had to step up your game with your behavior. These kids don't give a damn. That don't work with them.
We get some anyway.
Yeah, because you know why it don't work? Because mothers, shit, maybe some fathers want to be best friends with their kids. So how dare they take something away, or how dare they have them rolling their eyes or cussing them out under their breaths, whatever, because that that just hurts them so much. So it doesn't. You don't have that. You don't have that in your back pocket during this time to kind of use to say, you know what, keep playing. I'm gonna make that phone call, and many of them will say, go ahead, right and do it. Let's go to your office now and call. In fact, I'm about to text her now, or whatever the case is, and you barely ever get that response that, oh, okay, oh, Mr. Glover called. Okay, I'll be up there. Okay, we'll see. All right, put them on the phone, or something that effect. So kids are just it's that time. Some of them just get buck wild, and then also during this time, some kids know that they're not going to be getting anything anyway, so they say, "What the hell I got to lose?" So I might as well cut a fool in school to get some attention, and that's the time we're at right now. But that is that. It's time to think about this shift and this conversation about uh, the shift since Trump's been back in office. How has that impacted the black community? And you can look at different areas like the erosion of civil rights, the economic setbacks, um, Trump and his administration, taking away, resources for, black history or black education, just to name a few of the things that's transpiring. And, it's a lot of tension, a lot of racial tension going around. And I guess the ultimate thing is how you respond to it all. How do you respond to it all? How do you let it impact you? Are you on edge at work or in your neighborhood? How are you impacted by it? So we'll go deeper in that. So, Big Bad Wolf, what's your take on the overall landscape of the black community and the changes since the shift with Donald Trump?
Um, First of all, politics for black people pretty much is a mixed bag. I know most of us, um, granted, we're not a monolith when it comes to politics, but overwhelmingly, most of us are registered and we vote Democratic. And if you actually go back and you listen to some of the things that Dr. Claude Anderson has said, he said that's our problem is that we since about the 1950s, 1960s, we voted heavily Democratic, and we've received absolutely nothing for our vote. Nothing. No anti-black crime bill. You go back, and I was just listening to the last week. I've been heavily into black black male contributions, but black contributions. Yeah, we stepping into to the crock infested waters of politics tonight. I've been listening to a lot of black male World War II and some World War One podcasts, and when you go back and you look at the suffering, the torment that black men, particularly, and I'm not excluding black women, I'll get to that in a moment, have had to deal with being killed in uniform, being killed because they were in uniform. There was and I can't remember the young man's name. He was 27, had just been discharged honorably discharged from the Navy, was on a bus ride home and asked the bus driver, could he use the bathroom? Could he pull over to the next town to use the bathroom? So the driver had got to one town, I can't remember the name of some small town in South Carolina, I think it was. Went in and told the chief of police that somebody was giving them grief. Chief of police pulled this man off the bus and essentially beat him to the point where he took his nightstick. People, this is graphic, so if you got a weak constitution, you may want to tune out for the next 30 seconds. I'll give you a few moments. He took his nightstick and drove it into both of his eye sockets, rendering him blind. Beat him damn near death. Took him, put him in a jail cell, left him overnight. It wasn't until word had got out that they took him to the VA. And when the doctors examined him there, they were horrified at his injuries. So you look at the cumulative way that we voted. Like I said, voting Democratic has gotten us absolutely nothing. And people will say, well, why would we vote for the Republicans? They don't like us, and that's a fallacy. I wish people would get past that nonsense. The Republicans already know that we're not going to vote for them because history has already dictated that. So the reason the Republicans don't think about blacks in mass is because they had no reason to. I go back and mention the book Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. Buy it, read it, and understand it. He's saying if we keep voting blindly for one party, then they know they have our vote. They're not going to change because they don't have to. Go back to call him Doctor. You just said it, Lyndon Johnson. Go back and look at what they said, or what he said about about the black vote. I'm not. I always say this because when my brother and I have these discussions, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That's your business. I will tell you to vote though, because it does matter, especially when you come to your local politics. We were talking about this earlier, early before the show. There was. I'm not going to mention names. We just had our city council election last week. I do believe it was. Yeah, last week or something. Yeah, last week. We have candidates before the election was complete fighting. Come on, people. All you did was soil your name, especially among the people who don't like us. They think we misbehave, we're hoodlums, we don't deserve to be in office. They will tell you we don't deserve to be free. And then you turn around and you act like this. I could care less who said what about who. If you are the type of man where words, the utterance of mere phrases offend you, then yeah, your motherfucking ass don't need to be in politics. Period, point blank. Yes, I said it. I'll say it again. You don't need to be in politics. Period. You give us a bad name, you stain us, you don't do anything good for us. I've been in the game 4 times as a candidate. Didn't care what anyone said about me. Because the people that care, they ain't gonna they're not going to soil your name because they don't want that done to them. This is one of the reasons why I say people should run for office because it'll make you more humane. But I want to get off on a tangent because I saw that nonsense and I was pissed. I was pissed. But we see now, with the rolling back of DEI, and I just want people to understand something about DEI. DEI was never about black people. I think it was like 15% of the jobs that were given out, if you will, under DEI were held by black people. The vast majority of those jobs went to Caucasian women. People, y'all got to understand something about the nature of this politics. Nothing, and I do mean nothing, is ever going to be given to blacks in mass. It don't work like that. You go back and you look at civil rights. When they entered, shout out to BGS, when they wrote the bill originally, before gender and sex was put in there, yes, black men were poised to get jobs. Once they did that, guess who came in and swooped up the vast majority of those jobs? And you can go verify this on an online search. Caucasian women. They benefited. So who do you think is going to continue to benefit? This country was never built for us. Liberia. If you don't know what Liberia is, go look that up. That's where Lincoln wanted to send us pre and post Civil War. Because he is the president. The Republican Party is a party that freed the slaves. But understand what came with that. Okay? So when people talk about, I ain't voting because it don't do any good, I said, you're entitled to that. But I look at you kind of sideways because people picked up arms, people swung from trees, people gave their lives, bit by dogs, hosed by water hoses, so you can have that right. Exercise it. Don't dishonor those people who have given so much just so you can get that right. So whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or you're registered independent, like civil duty, man. Civic duty. Get out there and vote. But we need to seriously sit back as an electorate and ask ourselves, what do we need? Okay, what do we need versus what we want? Because sometimes our wants gets masqueraded as a need, and it's not what's going to help us. And my brother, shout out to him. I'm not gonna mention his name. He did a morning clip before his workout. Was talking about the issues we have here in the falls, and the issues we have in the falls are they're multiple. There's a supposedly a lack of things for kids to do. Yes, comparatively speaking to our generation, they don't have the community centers. They don't have the boys club on 17th Street, the community center here on 13th Street, the one across town, and then the multiple places where we used to go play basketball. There was always somewhere to play basketball when we were coming up. Now, that's not the case. These kids got to struggle to find some place to play basketball. And even when I ride by Harriet Faber with the outdoor basketball courts, I rarely see kids out there anyway. So my question becomes, if there were places for these kids to play basketball, would they actually go play? And I know there's been a whole to do with the ice skating rink in the mirror, and I'm just like, as a people, we don't ice skate. I'm not saying dumb black people don't ice skate because I do, but as a people, we don't ice skate. Hell, you can't find too many of us outside in the winter and summer. That's a different story. It's hot. Yeah, let's go out, get this barbecue together, and let's some drink. But we don't ice skate. So I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done in terms of politics. But like I said, we have to focus on what we need. Education, I think, is always primary. We talk about wraparound services here. You um tag me in the Boulevard Mall thing. There's so much real estate. There's so many vacant buildings that I just wish we would collectively pool our money and start investing in these buildings and start to educate our own. Dr. Umar Johnson, I may not like him, but he has the correct idea. We should be in charge of our own education, of our own kids. Some people say Brown versus the Board of Education, the separate equals, striking it down was the worst thing that happened to us. And you know what? I tend to begrudgingly agree because now we as a people, we've gotten to the point where we've gotten too lazy. Kid come home with bad grades. The parents want to blame the school system. Okay, well, that child's in school. What's the school day? 7, 8 hours a week? 7, 8 hours a day, Dave? Roughly about that?
It's about 6.5, 7 hours.
So what is that child doing when that child gets home? Are you checking that child's homework? Are you checking on that child's progress? Because when we ran the mentoring program, we wanted reports every week. And then we wanted a comprehensive report every 5 weeks. You know why? Because a lot of these parents, they don't realize their child is failing until maybe the 10-week marking period, which you can do something about. But we got some parents that wait till the 20 and 30 week, and by then, they on the fast track to summer school. And trust me. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I could speak to that. I just had a parent in my office today, and they were, I guess, the 10-week marking period has went by, and grades came out, and they realized that their daughter had like 4 E's, which we use E's instead of F's. And she was like, she asks her every day, does she have homework? And she says, no. And that could be correct in the old mindset of thinking, like I explained to her, I said, in our days, teachers would specifically say, you have math page 17, do the odd numbers, or you need to read this and in social studies, or study for the capitals of each state and different things you had to do. But a lot of times the work in this day and age is covered in the classroom, and whatever you don't do, that's expectations to do at home. So these kids, either they capping, and if they don't hear you specifically say, this is your homework, but knowing that they got a bunch of misassignments, then you always got homework. Unless you got straight A's, you always got something to do. So I think parents is getting mixed up with that, besides not checking on a regular basis the grades. You can't wait for 5 weeks to go by. You can't wait for 10 weeks. You have to probably check that once a week. And I would recommend maybe just once a week as a parent. You can't be somewhere on whatever grading system your district use to be on there every day looking and looking to see if a grade changed or whatever, because you got to give teachers time to correct the papers and put in scores and results. So I would say check it once a week, probably on the weekend. That way you can kind of dictate that weekend, like, okay, you're not doing anything this Saturday until you sit your tail at this table. You're going to catch up on this work for a couple hours, and then you could you could do something, or you want to have them to have a balance. And I don't think too many kids, they're not going to sit somewhere and work 6 7 hours doing work. So hour and a half, 2 hours, especially if they dug themselves a hole, then that's what they may have to do. So they may have to miss out on things to get back on track. But trust and believe, parents out there, if your kid's telling you they don't have any work and you know they don't have all A's, then you know it's something for them to do. Now, I also want to go back to the point when you was talking about job situation, and I remember when I first got my counseling education degree, and I remember talking to this young intern. He was a school psych. Well, right now he's a psychologist in the school, but he was an intern, and he was like, "Man," he said, "you're gonna be able to paint your own ticket. You're gonna be the golden child in counseling." He's like, "Do you know the rarity of a black male counselor in the school is far in between?" He said, "So you should be able to go anywhere and get a counseling position." And and things seem that way. And I had during the process, I had certain districts tell me that they were looking for a black male or a black, because they were saying things like, well, in our district we have an influx of, and that doesn't mean black, but that's what they were trying to say. We had an influx of Section 8 people moving into certain um, community complexes. So they were saying that they probably needed a black counselor, and a black male was a rarity. But for whatever reason, like Herb said, they probably ended up hiring a white female. Uh, I remember one district. It was I think Greece School District
Out of
in the
Rochester,
suburbs
Mississippi.
of Rochester, the
Hmm.
eighth biggest school district in New York State. The counseling supervisor at the time, and I might have shared this before, told me that there were no black male counselors in their whole district. I said, "You got to be kidding me." So there's not one black male counselor in the eighth biggest school district in New York State. And I'm like, so who's representing uh, the little black boys? And she couldn't answer it. And then she was like, she wanted to hire me, but she knows that the counterparts are gonna probably gonna say the only reason why I got the job because I was a black male. And I was like, well, you tell them, put their resume on the table, and I'll put mine on the table, and they'll see why I got the job. But of course, and she was a sister too.
Mm.
Of course, she was afraid to pull that trigger. So, because I had like 5 interviews with that district, didn't get the job. Uh, then I had one that I got offered a job in Ithaca, but that just didn't sit in well with me. That area. I mean, it was a college town. They was trying to sell me it's near Cornell. You got Syracuse. What's the other one? Cornell, Syracuse.
That's Cortland
Some
State. Cortland State's
yeah,
the
yeah,
out
some
of
other.
Binghamton. I don't know how close Binghamton is to there, but Binghamton at the time was a D3 school. They're D1 now, but like you said, Cortland, Binghamton, Syracuse, Cornell. I think
Yeah,
Cornell's in that area too.
it was a bunch of them, and it was like a 3 hour ride. And when I was riding there, I seen like some Amish people like in a horse and carriage, and I was like, nah, like I said, I got offered a job, but they kind of said that during the interview that they had an influx of gay and lesbian relationships are starting to form, and they probably needed someone to represent that population. And I'm thinking like, what the hell y'all looking at me for? I know nothing about that, but needless to say, I didn't get that job, but it was somebody I went to school with that was on the panel. So she probably pushed for me, but I end up declining it probably because also the whole culture there. I think I had one of my friends I had an interview kind of showed me around. We went out to lunch after my interview, and one of her friends came up and she's like, "Oh, this is my friend David," and I had on a suit, tie, and all that. And I know I shared this before, and the first thing they was like, "Oh, you just getting? Did you have court today?" And I'm like, "Court." So they was insinuating that if a black man is dressed up, the only
Yeah, there's
reason he's dressed up is
yeah.
that he had to go to court and all that. So I said, nah, this is not going to be the place for me. But you can see how certain things play into even what we're talking about tonight. That shit, I was more than qualified, but and certain places had told me that's what they needed at the time, but they decided to go another route. And then when I went to the teacher recruitment day, Baltimore County, they was emailing me, and they knew that the HR person knew that I had brothers that lived down here, so they were like, "Just come on down, visit your brothers, make a weekend of it, interview." And then finally, I said, "You know what? After interviewing with some districts in Western New York," I said, "I'm about to just go down there and plan something." And then I did, and I had a couple interviews, went to HR, they discussed salary, and I said, I guess it's time to be out, whatever, and left. And that's because the district I work in now is probably, I think, at one time it's 23rd, 24th, so somewhere 24th, 25th biggest school district in the country. So there's a lot of diversity in different areas. So, and even then, when I became a department chair, at one point in time, I was the only black male department chair in the whole district. We started off with maybe four, well, not start off, but it was like 4 or 5 of us, and then it just dwindled down, and you kind of look like, man, like. But then when we all get together and you look in the room, it was only a handful of us as black male counselors. Now, granted, that's probably more of a profession that a lot of women went into because of the nurturing aspect, and so you have a lot of female counselors. There's a lot of black ones that start women that starting to get into the profession, but mainly it would be you know white women. But even back in our days, there were male counselors. We had some white male counselors. We were lucky to have maybe one or two black male. I know. Shout out to Bruce Brundage.
Yep.
Then Knuckles uh, will end up being like the supervisor coordinator of the counseling um, in Niagara Falls. So he was a main fixture at the 17th Street Boys Club, like a director there. So he, his heart was always in it with kids and mentoring and all that. So it was an easy transition for him. But it's, it's like that out there. It's tough out here. So now we even faced with more challenges when you think about jobs and equity and are you going to be given their fair shot? And it's just like I said, the tension around and the cockiness of individuals. You could just I say to myself, man, I'm glad in the sense that I'm on the end of getting out instead of coming in because shit is crazy. So I'm on the downside of my profession compared to someone just walking in because I don't know what the hell war zone they're gonna be in these up and coming years.
And, and I want to go back to something you mentioned, with regards to a lack of black male counselors, like you mentioned, Knuckles. A melancholy happy birthday. This gentleman is with the elders, as Dr. Umar would say. Dr. Well, Pastor James. He was the lone black man we had at Lacell. I'm sure the people that the brothers who went to Lacell know who Mr. James is. Mr. James was the rock for us, yo. When something wasn't going right, he was there. Well dressed, sharp brother. So definitely, like you mentioned, Knuckles. Uh, uh Anytime I get the chance to shout out Garth, I'm always gonna shout him out. Anytime Garth Ellis, anytime I get the chance to shout out Michael Thompson, I'm gonna shout the men out because they were paramount at the 13th Street Center. When we came through, um, a lot of us didn't have those fathers, and they kept us on a right and narrow. Uh, they made sure that place was drug free, alcohol free, for the most part, drama free. So a lot of us came through there. Dr. Dunbar wrote his book. A lot of people that he talked about in the book came through that building. Modi, Milo and them I know to play. Duke was played at St. Teresa's. I mean, hell, man. You know, we talk about all the basketball heads that came through, especially when you talk about Niagara Falls High School, Mick and Rick the twins, Dennis Pisniak, Rob Dog, shout out to Rob Lewis. All them heads used to come through there, man. Anthony Bradley, him and his younger brother, man. I mean, these places were where we hung out, where we cut our teeth, and we didn't know it at the time. They were our sanctuaries. We didn't have to worry about being in the streets, and we knew when we went there wasn't gonna be no nonsense. It was straight. Get a ball, play. We're gonna do this today, and this is what's gonna be done. So, and back to what I was talking about with the money aspect, we had the ability, literally, despite what people might think, we had the ability, the financial ability, the educational intelligence to do this stuff for ourselves. We don't have to wait for government entities, even in this city of Niagara Falls. The only problem is everybody wants the credit. And that's the unfortunate part. Everybody wants the credit. Nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wants to see the kids succeed. I tell people, I don't do this stuff for me. Because when Garth and them was doing stuff, they didn't do it for them. They did it for us. Like you talked about Knuckles. Knuckles didn't do it for him. He did it for the kids. And I always tell people, everybody talk about Wu-Tang for the kids. Well, hell, who's for the kids now? We could take literally all his brothers who are, matter of fact, I'm going to throw this out there. In the city of Niagara Falls, going for all his black men who are gainfully employed, I want us to start a fund. Call it the 10% fund. By this time next year, our goal should be $100,000. We should get together and donate or raise money to the point where we can get $100,000 together. We can hire black male um, um, counselors. We could bring in these kids that are struggling academically. We should aim to have these kids here after school, tutoring them. educating them, teaching them what they need to know in this world going forward. Because the school district does a good job in terms of STEM teaching, but not only does that teaching need to be reinforced, everything else needs to be reinforced. They need to understand about writing. And people say, oh, writing's a lost art because of computers. Bullshit. They need to be able to talk. They need to be able to talk. Wow. They need to be taught how to read better, how to speak eloquently. And I'm not saying there's not a place for slang when you're hanging out with your peoples. Yeah, you can talk all that you want to. But if you go into a job interview and you slouch and you say, yo, what's up, dog? You're not getting hired. You already got two strikes against you because you're a black male in this country. Nobody's giving you any favors. Like David said, put your resume on the table, put mine on the table, we'll see what's what. Because not only are you gonna have to fight against the world out there, you're gonna have to fight against some of your people, just like David said. And sometimes you'd be surprised who's praying for your downfall, who's trying to undercut you, who's trying to take your job. And it ain't them. There's somebody who looks just like you, just not your gender. If I got to paint any clearer for you, then you got a problem. So sometimes you're gonna have to fight your own people to get something. My brother's keeper, anybody?
So, see, now you got me going into my, and I said it's going to be a lot of personal perspectives. And I think about, I was on the track to be a counselor in the Niagara Falls School District. I didn't stick it out long enough. They started me off in a position, a PSA, pupil service assistant. I did it for 1 year, but I remember Knuckles, Mr. Bradley had told me, yeah, Big D, just take this position, do that for a year, get your foot in the door, then you can slide into a counseling position. Which the principal at my school at the time, that's what her plans was for me to do the PSA. Then she wanted me to be a counselor, but the superintendent had another agenda, and it didn't work that way. But when I took the position, I didn't really know what it entailed. I just said, hey, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. So I remember having a meeting, and it was all of us, and then we sitting around the meeting, and then one of the assistant principals like, well, you supposed to take notes. And I'm like, notes? Like, huh? Like I'm a freaking secretary? And I was like, I ain't know nothing about this, taking notes, whatever. Because mind you, I was at Bryan and Stratton for 10 years as an academic advisor, but I was transitioning into the public school sector. So I took that position, and then my principal had me and her had a conversation. She's like, "Yeah, I thought that was the reason why you came here because you had." And I kind of, not that it's anything wrong with a secretary, administrative assistant, whatever, but I kind of took it personal. And see, when you try to, and she probably didn't know, but if I feel like he was trying to take shots at me, then oh, we gonna go toe to toe. Then I was like, nah. And I told her, I said, you need to go check my resume. And I said, 'cause I didn't come here for that. I was like, kind of like, hell no. Like to type up notes and type it out. And so she must have checked my resume, and she was like, "Hmm, okay." So she started calling me counselor after that. I'm like, yeah, because this little like, I'm above this, but I was just trying to, you know, one of my mentors, Knuckles, I was just trying to take his lead, like, all right, let me just get my foot in the door. But needless to say, I never stuck around. That's when I ended up going to, eventually going out to Baltimore for that weekend interview and end up leaving there. But it was just the fact that I'm like, man, I come well qualified, and they never even looked at my resume or anything. And that just shows you that they just could bring anybody could come into a system, a job, and they never even, the head of the school never even look at your damn resume to see what skill set you have. And she thought I was there to be type it away, type it away. I took that personal. I was like, nah, you need to check my damn resume, whatever. And she did, but again, and then after that, she realized the value I had even doing that position because they had certain kids that the parents wouldn't fill out paperwork, special ed paperwork, because they was like they didn't trust the system. They was like, I
Hmm.
don't know what these people gonna do to my kids,
Yeah.
David or Mr. Glover, so I'm not signing the paperwork. But then when I went out there and explained, like, listen, your daughter's in the fourth grade. She's reading at the kindergarten level. You need to sign. You need to get her some services so she could get some extra help. You don't want to do that to her. You want to give her a fighting chance. And the parents are like, the only reason I'm doing it because I trust you. Remember,
Right.
trust is a big part of all of this.
Hmm.
It's like I trust you. I know your family members. I know your mother, your father, your aunts. So I'm signing this. She's like, but if anything goes wrong with this, I'm coming after you. I said, come on, I'll be there. I'll let you know where I'm gonna be at. And they end up signing it. So they was like, damn, how could this man? We've been trying to get signatures for years. He come in here in this short period of time. He even going out on I would call him going out on their lunch breaks, and they were like, "Okay, David, I'm gonna take my lunch break. Could you could come in, and then I sign the paperwork." You know how it is. Black people now don't like to be fucked with it during their lunch break. You can't say nothing to them during that time. That's their peace and quiet time. But I was able to do things like that, and the kids responded well. So the principal was like, "Shit, he should be a counselor here." But the higher ups had another plan. They had another plan. So that's how it is. And I'm thinking a lot of that stuff is parallel to some of the situations that's probably going to arise as we move forward with the things that's going on in certain situations and stuff being put in place. What's up, Big Shank? Thanks for joining us tonight. Uh, so that was just something that just triggered my mind and I thought about.
And that's real. A lot of first of all, let me make this plainly clear. I don't give a damn. Okay, don't categorically don't give a damn if you get hired for a position you don't have the qualifications for. You know why? Because that shit's been going on for decades. They call it nepotism. They don't have a problem when they do it, so they need to shut the hell up when we do it. This is what I mean. We can put our people in positions because we understand something that's innate to us that they can't understand. I don't care how much education they have, is the fact that, like David just said, they're not trustworthy. Simple as that. And I'm not saying they're out to do us wrong. I want people to understand what I mean when I say they're not trustworthy. That's because so much has been done prior to now that trust has been eroded to the point of near destruction. This is why that lady wouldn't sign the paperwork. How do I know they're gonna not put my child on some psychotropic drugs and they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that and then I lose control and then I don't have the right as a parent to say anything. All those things are real. Putting kids on ADHD medication when they don't need to be. What they need, structure, and somebody that's on their behind. To say, hey, look, no, this is what you're gonna do. It's not rocket science. It's not, well, I would say trigonometry, but it's not that hard. However, in order to get these kids on the straight and narrow, it's gotta be done early, as early as the second or third grade, because if they get to that point, especially the young males, and they're not up to speed, particularly when it comes to reading and comprehension, they're on the fast track to jail. You don't have to believe me. Go check the resources. That's how they start to build prisons. And that's a little known secret in the school districts. And it's not just here, that's throughout the country.
It was another thing I wanted to come across. So on TikTok, it was this white guy. He said he don't check his kids' report cards. He said I never look at them. He said, and he basically, and I did a collaboration with him, and what he was saying kind of made a lot of sense. And it was kind of the stuff that I always said that school should be 50% social
Oh,
and 50% academics. He was like the curriculum, uh, the Pythagorean theorem or whatever, and all of that stuff. He said that, are they going to use that in everyday life? And he was saying, so some of the stuff is kind of outdated. He said what he wanted from his kids is be able to be respectful to adults, give eye contact, be able to articulate their points, uh, be able to get along, be able to problem solve, and kind of work work their way through that. Now, he said he never really looked at the report cards. Maybe that is the case. Maybe the mother looked at it, but maybe his whole thing is, I just want y'all to come to school, go to school, be respectful, respect people who respect you, and work on that social component. And the reason why I kind of gravitated to what he was saying, because I keep saying that. I keep saying that it has to be a balance. See, schools, when you say, oh, you're here to learn and for academic purposes, but why most of the issues are social? Why are most of the issues are
mhm.
social? Social media, or not being able to problem solve, or get into conflicts, can't get along with peers, can't get along with teachers, have no respect for adults, and all. That's social stuff. So how are you gonna fix that if it's not happening at home? Which it seemed like that father, that was his focus. Like, I want you to go to school to be, a law abiding person that's respectful, show eye contact, give respect to adults, don't disrespect anyone. And people was like, I think I posted it on TikTok, and somebody was like, well, I hope you know that they need to learn. He teaches them math and like science or reading. I'm pretty sure that they all do that. If a kid won't be able to articulate well or speak well if they don't read, if they
Yeah.
have no foundation of reading. So I think he had all of that stuff covered. And maybe again, he said as the father, he never looked at the report card. He may have all straight A's, his kids. And maybe the mother did all that. And he was like, I'm gonna handle this social component part. That I know what it takes for you to to do well on an interview. I want you to be step your game up and be different than the other individuals. Because again, I always tell my students, I say, what you think is going to be more important? You can be a straight A student who don't talk, don't socialize, but then you have somebody that has a B average, but they're captain of the basketball team. They're vice president of student council. They've volunteered, uh, and they well rounded around. I said, who do you think a college recruiter is going to look at? Who has the more appealing resume? And even when you go on job interviews, let's be honest, people, all of us as adults, how many people actually, when we went on interview, someone actually pulled out and said, oh, I see you had a 3.3 here at such a, they don't look at that stuff. It's just the part to check off some. Okay, you need your transcripts, official transcripts, just so you can meet the protocol, because guaranteed could be somebody with a 4.0 in college and somebody with a 2.1, but that 2.1 person is charismatic, know how to get along with people, got a nice sense of humor, and then the people on the committee like, man, I like that guy, I like her,
Mhm.
I love her, and she's going to end up maybe getting a job with the right people on the panel. Now, if you have a bunch of stiffs and people about policies and procedures, they may say, "Oh, that person, they're 4.0. They abide by everything. They're on the straight and narrow." They may take them, but it might could end up being an epic fail. So it depends on the field and whatever the case is. So I kind of understood what the guy was saying because I keep saying school should be 50% social, 50% alcohol. Academics, you need to balance that out, and that curriculum needs to have more involvement with social stuff now because we're in a new age with social media and the way people communicate. We're still using the same shit from back when we were in school. It's not
Yeah.
gonna work. It's not gonna work, and it's not working, and it's not working. So you have to change it up. But if you don't, then these kids gonna continue running amok and acting the way that they act. And trust me. And I've had people say when I tell them stories about kids, and they're like, "You allow them to cuss like that? They cuss like that at home. They
Hmm.
cuss like that in the community. You think I'm about to sit and argue back and forth because they're cussing? That's what they do. They don't cuss at me or whatever the case is. Now, if I get tired of it, I might say, "All right, now y'all doing too much. Y'all getting carried away." And they'll, "All right, my bad, Mr. Glover, my bad." But that's what they can do. So I'm not gonna get into a power struggle because of words or how they speak in their community, in their homes. And some of y'all like let y'all kids cuss up a storm in y'all presence. That ain't cool to me, whatever. You gotta be a damn full-pledged adult. And then at the end when you cuss, hopefully you would say, "Excuse my language, dad. Excuse my language, mom," or something like that. To just be having conversations with your parents like, "Fuck that shit, this bitch and this and that." Nah, I don't care how old you get. It should be a certain respect level that you don't do that. But some of y'all, again, when you want to be buddy buddy, those are the conversations you have. That kids could throw out the F word, this and that, and use everything, and you tee heeing, and it ain't cool.
Yeah. Even as I got older, there was cursing in front of my mother. Even like I said, when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, it was bristle up. I can't do that. Uh, yeah, there's certain behaviors and things of that nature that these kids, simply put, like David said, it's they're not taught, they're not aware of, and I don't blame them. It's a culture that they're raised in. When there are no restraints, why? Not even how. Why would you expect them to exhibit any? Doesn't make sense. It's it's akin to taking somebody somewhere and they've never used utensils and they sit down there and start eating with their hands. Somebody's gonna look at them like they've been raised by savages. Well, if they've never been taught to use utensils, guess what? It's what they're gonna use. And that's the same thing with language. If you only know one way to speak, you're gonna speak that way.
Yeah, these kids don't have the ability to
Yeah.
adapt and cut it off at that point. They don't know how. Okay, once if I get off the bus or once my parent drop me off, now I go straighten up, walk straight, and go in here and talk. Um, Indifferent or not, they don't know how to turn it off like that. That takes years of practice and a skill set. Middle schoolers, even high school kids, they're not going to be able to turn it off and on like that. Once it's on, it's on. So they gonna come in, and that's the way they gonna talk. Either
Yeah.
you either you internalize it and take it personal, or you say, "Yeah, just keep it moving, whatever." But because a lot of people who say this stuff, they never worked in the school, or better
Right.
yet, have been in the school when it's the heat of the battle or during transition time. They hear half of the stuff that goes on. They come in during parent teacher conference, volunteer at events, and be like, "Oh, I know." Nah, you don't know the half of that's just a little segment, whatever. You got to pop up in there out of the blue and see, like, oh, and most of them who do when they leave, they say, "I don't know how y'all do it. I do not know how y'all do it. God bless you. I'm so happy. I do not know." They be like, "Let me get the hell up out of here, Mr. Glover. I don't know how y'all do it."
It's tough, man. It really is. I remember, going back to the years I was doing some volunteer mentoring in the schools. And I'll say this to parents: get a group of you. I don't care if it's male, female. And you know what? From time to time, from day one to day 180, drop in your students' building. Why? Because as David said, you get to see, you get to experience firsthand, unvarnished, with your own ears, eyes, what goes on and how these students behave. I will tell you, I will walk around in the building, I'll peek into some classrooms, and guess what? Their whole demeanor shifted. Who's that? I'm David. It was incredible. And mind you, I had no authority. I'm just an old, older black man walking around in the building trying to offer support, let them see that, hey, look, there's people in the district. And it was also, for the staff as well. Because what I realized, with the staff is, well, first of all, and I believe I talked about this before, is they thought I was a school board plan. And the shout out to I always forget her name. Anyway, she brought me in because she was asking my brother, do you know of any black male mentors or people who like to volunteer mentor? He said, oh yeah, I got one. Tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, look, they looking for some male black volunteer mentors. I said, well, he said, Lace Prep. I said, oh yeah. 2 days a week. I was there on Tuesdays and Thursdays from I think about 9:30 till about 1:30. It was a rewarding experience because they got to see somebody who looked like them, somebody that they could actually speak to, and somebody who lived where they did. Now, of course, I didn't necessarily, have the same circumstances that they did. I had a place to live, decent clothes, enough food to eat. I didn't have to worry about those things. But some of these kids, they have to worry about these things. They have to go home to their mother shouting at the kids, or if they're lucky, the mother shouting at the kids, because sometimes these kids get home and they're raising themselves. Ain't no food to eat. They got to go forward at the next door neighbor's house for some food. So it's a wonder that their homework don't get done. It's a wonder that they're falling behind. Mother come home, something ain't done, she's screaming. They're in a constant state of stress. They're in a constant state of flux. So no, they're not going to do well academically because the home environment, I talked about this before, the home environment is not conducive for that. This is why we talk about the wraparound services. So when those kids get home, there is no stress. They can sit down. They ain't got to worry about a criminal element when they step outside their home. They ain't got to worry about nobody bothering them, nobody bullying them, none of this other stuff when they get home. They can sit home. If they want a snack, they go grab it. Whether it's apple or some chips or whatever it is, it's there. So now they're comfortable. And we all know when you're comfortable, you tend to work better. You tend to produce better. All the results associated with that tend to increase. They tend to improve. There's no secret. This is why when executives get into an office, the first thing they do, they go buy them a nice, comfortable chair because they know they're going to be sitting in that chair an awful lot. We political discussion, but we have to understand that politics, politics exist on a lot of different angles. Money is one, two is influence, three we talked about voting. But hell, we can't control the politics of our own homes. And if we control the politics of our own homes, guess what else we can control? The politics of our own neighborhoods. but we have to be willing. And there's just not enough people out there who are willing. They think it's somebody else's job. Well, how is it someone else's job to raise your child? How is it someone else's job to make sure that your child is doing the work that he or she is supposed to do? That's your responsibility as a parent. Is to ensure that your child goes to school, your child is prepared, and your child is, like they used to tell us, is getting the lesson that the teacher's teaching. And I don't care if you have to sit there every day with your child to make sure that your child is doing the work and they're doing it properly. They're grasping the information, they're retaining the information. So when it comes time to test, they do well and they're ready for the next step. That's all it is. But you got to be willing to commit to it. And I'm sorry, this is going to sting a little bit, but you're out there having random sex sessions, producing these kids, and then y'all not getting together to discuss what's going to happen. Y'all need to cut that shit out. And I'm not telling you you don't have to walk around and be sexy, but if you're going to start producing kids, y'all need to start talking the future. Regardless if you cohabitate, 539 savings plan. That should be one of the things on the table, especially now with the elimination of some jobs and people talking about chat GTP and AI taking over. There's some jobs that's never going to be um, fully computerized. There's never some things that are going to be taken over by computers. Peer-to-peer support is always going to be needed. Computers won't be doing surgeries. Computers won't be lawyers. Hey, computers might write programs and might write stories, but hey, can't nobody write like a human writes. If you have a child who has a gift of art, a gift of writing, nurture that. Send them to a class. Send them to somebody who specializes in art. It can't hurt. Find scholarships. Once your child starts to get into the 10th grade and they show an aptitude for stuff, sit down with their guidance counselor. Start talking about scholarships to school. Anything to help defray the cost. And trust me.
Hold up. We don't go by the name of guidance counselors no more.
I'm sorry. Even in school counselors, I'm sorry.
People take that shit personal. I really don't, whatever. But we've
But
been
yeah,
talking
man,
about it.
scholarships are out there. I mean, even during the summer break, if you gotta try and raise money to send them off to some camp that's gonna help them, do it. Your children should be something that you invest in early and often. Because once they get to a certain age, guess what? It's too late. You're trying to start to invest in them when they're juniors. You got people who've been investing in their kids from the time they put on hard bottom shoes. That's 9 year head start. There is no way in the world that anybody on this planet can overcome a 9 year head start. Think about that for a moment. Let me put it in a sports narrative. If you got somebody who's a hard puncher, but they've never been taught how to box, and they get in the ring with somebody who's been boxing for 10 years, who do you think's gonna win that fight? It's gonna be a slaughter. He might hit like a mule kick, but he doesn't understand angles, counters, position, stamina. They beat their ass what. And this is what happened with a lot of black students when they get into colleges. They start looking at resumes. They start taking college prep courses for the. They still they don't rely on the SAT too much. I think it's the ACT that they use predominantly more.
There's both of them, and I know some colleges is trying to do away with any of those
Mhm.
standardized those tests, but it depends. If some people, some students, if they don't do well on SAT, they taught, told to try the ACT. So whatever works. I think the bottom line is the higher your GPA is, something that you can control
Mhm.
means the less that you have to get on. Especially if you're an athlete.
Mhm.
Especially if you're an athlete. When you have to do the was it the NCAA clearinghouse and all of that stuff. The higher your GPA is, the less you have to score on the test. So av- people need to know that you have to try to have a competitive edge as you do on the court, on the field. Same thing you should try to have in the classroom. You should always want to be the best at whatever you do. There's no, you if there's chronicles and stuff that say when you think about when they talk about Jordan, Kobe, they wanted to win at everything. They wanted to be the best at everything, not just basketball, whatever. No matter what they played, they wanted to be the best. So I think for students, eventually, you want to be the top dog in your classroom because there's no there's no there's nothing some anyone could say to you as a student when you cool, you popular, and you're smart, and you got the grades to go
Yeah.
with it. And and if your parents again is trying to make sure that you have everything everybody else have, all the competitive edges, you set. Whether your drip, your clothes, and all everything's on point, and you got good grades, the hell somebody gonna say to you? They really can't say much to you. So when you think about trends, you got to transition sports and academics and all this stuff, and think about other sports sports images and stuff that, hey, look at Terrence Crawford, up and coming. Well, he getting older, but shit, he don't like losing everything. They say he good at everything he do. Um, no matter what it is, because when you want to be the best, you want to be the best at everything, or at least try to be the best. Some things you may fall short, but you're like, man, it's just not in my spirit to not give my best. So I always try to have those conversations with kids. It's interesting now. It's that time of year for tryouts and stuff. So I told some of the boys, "Oh, I can't wait to come in y'all tryouts. I think they start tomorrow." I was like, and I'm just talking though, because I retired from the game. But I was like, man, I should lace them up, come out there, and just body up with y'all. And they like, you ain't gonna come out here because you're scared. It might be on the side because I am scared. I am scared to get hurt. I am scared to go through that pain. Don't want to do it. That's why I gave it up.
It's funny.
That's
It's
why I
funny you
gave
say
it
that because I'll be out at Abbott shooting, and they're, yo, let's run one. I'm not like I'm not playing no haystack. I'm like,
up.
cause they don't play haystack, man. Their ideal of haystack is launching threes, no rebound, no box out, nobody playing defense. I'm like, nah, I ain't got it in me. Like you said, I'm not trying to get hurt. I got to go to work tonight. I got to stand up, so I can't afford a sprained ankle and all that other stuff. I'm sorry, but yeah, man. It's a different time, for these kids. Um, and any assistance that is given to them, that they can receive, especially if they don't have to pay for, it's a bonus. But their parents aren't going to seek it out. So that means if somebody doesn't see something latent in them, they're never going to receive that leg up that some of their peers will. And honestly, sometimes that's the difference between success and failure. Sometimes that's going to be the difference between them getting something versus somebody else is getting something. Somebody say, "Well, I'm sorry, you didn't show any initiative," and initiative. What's that? You didn't show that you wanted something. Yeah, but what does it have to do with initiative? That's what initiative means. It's stuff that we take for granted as older people. These young kids don't know anything about that. Like I was at my other job and we were talking about culture, and the one girl didn't know what that meant. It's like no, your ethnicity and culture are different because she was Hispanic, and me, our client, and another coworker, we have a excuse me, a 15-minute running discussion about culture. But most of these kids don't know that. They they don't know the difference between culture and ethnicity and all that other stuff. To them, it's like, okay, I'm black. That's my culture. No, that's your ethnicity. Your culture is what you do in terms of your food, the music, how you speak, how you wear your clothes. That's culture. Okay, but they don't understand that. And before people say that's not where they should be, it is where they should be. Because once you start understanding what that means, you start to become aware how you speak, especially around other people, is what David was talking about earlier. That changes because now you're culturally aware. You say, hey, look, that's not how I want to behave on the job. That's not how I want to behave at school. That's not how I want to behave around other people. I say that for when I'm at home on the PlayStation and we talking trash, or we playing spades and I'm talking trash. There's a time and place. The old adage exists for a reason. The old axiom exists. There's a place and time for everything. But you can't have these kids just flying off the handle at any time because they're gonna get marked. And once they're marked, it's like the scarlet letter. It's gonna be damn near impossible to get rid of. And the boys, they can't afford it. The girls might get away with a little something more, but the boys can't afford it. They can't. Stop thinking that they can. Stop thinking, oh, they just boys. Boys will be boys. Yes, when it comes to rough housing and things of that nature, boys will be boys. But the school district's not going to look at them like that. The school district's going to look at them like they're potential trouble. So when the school district wants to reassign them because they see trouble in the future, who advocates for you? Who do you call? Because you don't know who to call because you've never thought about this, never been in a situation. I used to do this at my intake. We had one of our kids uh, get reassigned to an alternative school because he was doing poorer than what he should have been academically. Now they used an incident where a female student spat on him and he defended himself. They used that to reassign him because of his poor academics. So I sat in on the disciplinary hearing and we told him, I said, all right, this is what you got. It was towards the end of the year. I think they were in the 32nd week. I said, hey, you want to go back and you want to get in and finish the school year with your peeps? This is what you're going to have to do. Ain't no taking it easy. Ain't no, I don't have any homework. This is what they're saying you got to do to get back to good. And let the mother know. I said, hey, look, there's nothing you can do. This is the situation that this young man is in. We're going to get him all the help, all the resources he needs. But he alone has to do this work. And he did. Got him back into school about 2 weeks before the end of the school year because that was his concern, was being with his peers. And that's what all these kids are concerned about, especially now with social media. They're more concerned with keeping up appearances. They're more concerned with looking like their friends do or looking better than their friends. They're not concerned about outperforming their friends academically. Why? Nobody's ever said, hey, you need to hit the books. You need to be smarter than anybody else that you know or in your classroom. because that's ultimately, unless they know somebody, which is few and far between, that's what it's gonna come down to.
And to take a little shift, like even with the subject matter, and it's been circulating around about the whole, was it football game, South Carolina, or whoever they
Oh
played, and
yeah,
the state troop, whoever the officer dude bumped into the athletes, and it's been going around, and I seen a clip that Stephen A. Smith said he should be suspended. No, I think his ass need to lose his damn job, like for
period.
real, like there's no place for that. You had an athletic with young kids. You got to mind that they're still 18 to 22 years old, whatever, to come and try to incite a damn thing by bumping. Now they'd have been dead ass wrong if it was 40 or 50 of these big ass football players would have
They
jumped
ran
on
it.
your
Yeah.
ass.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have been dead wrong, and they would have stampeded you. It would have
Mm-hmm.
been dead wrong of them, whatever. But you want to butt like, what's wrong with you? Like you have no business being in a place working with young people when you out to do that. But you know why you did it? Because your little badge, maybe because your color thing, like, oh, I want to show out. I'm big and bad. You know damn well that football player would have tore your ass out the frame. Um, you know that, but you know that they're there for a bigger reason. And what you would hope is they lose they cool and end up getting kicked off the
Yeah.
team and all that, losing their scholarship. Why walk between them? Like, to me, if I'm in that position, I'm probably patting them on the shoulder as like, good play, whatever, go back out there, good luck or something. But to do that, oh, man, and it's no place for that type of behavior, and it's gonna continue and it's gonna happen. But luckily, and that's why you know we have to instill in ours and our loved ones and all that to be well grounded. Like sometimes can't react to that. They'll get their day, whatever.
Yep.
That shit was all on camera. He has nothing, and he walked away and carried on and continued on with the game. And now he has to deal with these questions. But one thing Stephen A. Smith said, he should never be allowed to be in that type of atmosphere
Ever again.
with young people like that, whatever, because you wanted your ass kicked. You was asking for it. You was asking for it. How I don't have no understanding. In the same way in education, I tell people all the time, I have no understanding to want to jump on a kid or do this or do that. I'll simply tell them I'm cutting them off. Unless you got something to really talk about, don't come in here. Don't come around me. We got nothing to talk about. uh, Before I say to myself, oh, I'm about to put my hands on them, or I'm going to try to do bodily harm to a kid, and I'm in a position of authority and stuff like that. I don't get it. But again, it's the way you talk to respond, because that's just those are the challenges that you're going to have to be faced with from here on out. You're going to get tried. We get tried every day on the job. We get tried. And it's how we respond to it or how we conduct ourselves is what matters. So we have to do better, even as adults, and then even instilling in our young people is it's not what happens, it's how you respond to it. It's not what people say to you, it's how you respond to it. And some things may be out of line. Another example, and this was two black on black, whatever, with the Steelers in the Bengals game with what's his name? The receiver, star receiver, Jamar Chase. When Jalen Ramsey got kicked out the game,
Oh,
but then when they showed, he tried to spit on him. Oh, hey, you try to spit on me? It's on. You have to deal with those consequences later. That you just don't do that. He's suspended for one game, but I hope they find a way to have an apology to Jalen Ramsey or something and say, "Oh, we missed that one. We didn't see that. If you spit on me,
Oh,
it's no turning back. It's not like, oh man, my bad, or like, hey, you just spit on me. You automatically ready to go in. Fluids like that flowing around, and I don't know where these people get that from, spitting on people.
yeah,
That
that's
seems to be a common thing that happens with these football players that they want to spit on each other. Like, yo, that's lower than low. Like, I don't know where y'all got that from, but knock that shit off. If somebody gonna take their damn helmet and go upside your damn head, whatever, eventually, and you don't know the background of some of these players.
yep, yeah.
Yeah, what triggers them.
You know what? It's funny you say that. My junior year when I was playing varsity, we the JV had played. Oh, who the hell was it? Hamburg. JV had played Hamburg at home. We were traveling there, and Coach Gina Cola came in and said, "Hey, look, JV got into a fight." He was like, "A fight? Doing what?" He said, "One of the players spit on his hand and just shook the hand of one of our players, and he had his helmet off. He took his helmet, blow, all this bloodied and broken." He said, "So when you go through the handshake line, have your helmet on." So it's you don't know. Like David said, you don't know what a person has been through, what might trigger them, all of this stuff, man. It is important. Sometimes you be prepared for the unexpected, so you don't get caught by the unexpected. But these kids have a lot more. I don't necessarily want to say at stake, but they do have a lot more to deal with than we did. The emotional trauma, the lack of support at home, because we always had support, whether it's from inside the house or an older brother, maybe a nephew. I'm sorry, an uncle. These kids don't have that. They don't have nobody to turn to. They don't have nobody to pull them aside, tap them on the shoulder, and say that's not how you want to do that. Because if you do, it's gonna end up like this. If I had that,
And one of the things with these kids, whatever, that I always tell them, yo, stop burning bridges or whatever. Yo, stop mistreating your parents or whatever, grandparents, whatever. Some of y'all running amok over your grandparents. If y'all lose them, what are you gonna have?
mm-hmm.
What are you gonna have? Like, seriously, if we think about it, I think our survival, we listened more and we took on some of the philosophies and ideologies that our mothers and grandparents did that was kind of instilled in us. But guess what? This younger generation, they don't, they're not into the storytelling or when you say, well, back in the days, they don't want to hear none of that shit. They don't want to talk about that. They clown on that. Again, you the old man, you the unk, you this and that. And I'm like, wow, how things have shifted when older people they would always have our attention
Mm-hmm.
and you would listen and you would consider who it was. And even sometimes you could have been on a block. It could have been somebody that was they was an alcoholic or they got addicted to drugs, but they would talk to you and you would listen to their story and realize how they got caught out there and it made you say, shit, I don't never want to go down that road. So I ain't never gonna do this or I'm not gonna do that. And with these kids, and again, when we say we're not speaking in absolutes because some of y'all get caught up in that. Well, not all, not all. Like if you're still saying that, then that I always question your intellectual ability or your foresight to even think like who would even think that you're speaking on all. But it's all I know in the counselor's corner. A lot of times I stop commenting on stuff because people still stuck on that. Well, not all women and not all men. Like, yeah, your intellectual capacity is lower than low. That you still using that as your defense. No shit. But I don't feel like I have to say uh, many or some or whatever the case is. And I know that may be the proper way to do it, but sometimes you just writing and you just flowing and you're getting a response out of people. But when somebody when their first response is not all, uh, then I already know like you out to lunch. There's no need to
Yeah,
go
it's
back
not
and
even worth
forth.
it to continue the discussion. It's funny. It's funny you say that. I had a female on one of my accounts make a statement about Wimby being trash. Now I don't necessarily think he's trash. I just don't think he's the player that everybody thinks he is. I said the man's one dimensional. And she said he was drafted not because he has skills, but because he's 7'4". Now, when we came up, if he was 7'4", you should be dominating. Not just offensively, but defensively. But I'm like, he too light in the behind. So I told dude, I said, I don't care if he was second in defensive player of the year. I said, those are stat driven awards. He was trying to argue with me about who votes on the awards. He's talking about former players and coaches. I'm like, dude, you don't know the game. You don't know the game. I said, look, I done coached, I done played. I said, you can't tell me about the game. Every time you talk some nonsense, I go just go shut it down. And it got to the point now I was like, dude, look, I can't even take you seriously. He's like, yeah, coaches do vote. I'm like, they don't vote, dude. It's just writers and broadcasters. And he didn't want to listen. I was like, okay, but a lot of these younger people, they're misguided if they're guided at all. Um, so like I said, especially the young black males, they're left to their own devices, and we can't expect them to make good decisions for the simple point that they don't know what a good decision is. You give them $100 and tell them, hey, you can do what you want to with this $100. Most of them are gonna go spend it, probably on a pair of sneakers. They ain't gonna save enough for the next day. They ain't not gonna get together with somebody trying to invest something. They ain't doing none of that. And so the first question that somebody will ask him is, well, damn, why did you spend all that money on one thing? Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're gonna spend it anyway. They don't understand the benefit of some things. And the reason they don't understand the benefit is because they never taught. They're never raised around it. And they say, okay, well, you know what? It's just money. What do I care? So, I mean, you got to fight the mentality. You got to fight the culture. You have to fight what they're taught at home. And some people will say, well, how does this have anything to do with politics? Well, let me break it down for you. If you're dealing with young people who don't value voting, they ain't gonna vote. So what that means is the people who do vote, they control what's going on in your life. Some people say, no, they don't. Just imagine if a city just started to invoke a curfew for people who had kids because they want you home with your kids and they vote to enact it. Guess what? If that passes, they start writing tickets. Start arresting you. Say, you can't do this. It's been voted on. But you don't vote. You run away. That's what it has to do with it. Culture, um, teaching, all of the stuff, man. These kids are not receiving in enough of a capacity to where they can understand it. That that's an in-house responsibility. And when I say in-house, the parent or parents, if you can't do it, find somebody else that can instill some certain things in it. They're around. You might have to do some footwork to understand who they is, but go to your local board of education and find out who are retired counselors, English teachers, social studies teachers in your area, and say, hey, look, can you work with my child? I don't have a whole lot, but I'm willing to work out, negotiate something. And some of them, because they're retired, because they're sitting at home, they're doing nothing, to say, absolutely, sure. When can I come by? But you have, for your children's sake, you have to reach out. Don't think the school district is going to do it. That's not the school district's job. It's yours. It's your job, your responsibility.
And sometimes with that, even just maybe reaching out to local colleges and stuff, they may have programs and they may have students that's aspiring to be educators and stuff that they may have certain programs that you can receive tutoring or extra help. I know prior to even my son at Morgan, for a while he was slacking up on his work, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna put you at this in this program in Morgan, and you'll go up there and you'll do your work and all of that stuff." And he did, and it was more just about being around other people and then being around on a college campus. So, it's things like that that you have to look up and take advantage of. There's opportunities out there. You just got to do the research. So again, like I spoke on earlier, we getting toward that time when we talk about culture and we talk about everything. It's about to be that big day, Thanksgiving time, for
Yeah.
many
Oh yeah.
folks, whatever, about culture, and people worried about that they didn't get all their SNAP benefits. The the prices is high as far as with groceries and all that. I just think I seen something after watching football. They was talking about it on the news that this Thanksgiving may be different for people because of the rise in prices of potatoes and different things that people normally have. That people may be scaling down on certain things. Mm. My thing is this: you have your family. Sometimes everybody always want to try to do it big, but sometimes less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Less is more. If you don't got it, keep it simple,
Yep.
and it's not the end of the world. We all we've had that food before, and you just keep it simple. Enjoy the people that you're gonna be around, and that's that. It's not in the world, but also, of course, what comes with that is Black Friday, and that was a part of the culture shift too, that I said years ago that they tried to do. Remember, it used to be like later on, you'd be sitting around on Thanksgiving, but you could spend time with your family. Then when it got like 10, 11 o'clock, Black Friday would kick in and people would
Yeah.
start going out shopping in the middle of night, but then they switched it up to like 6 in the evening. That was done intentionally. That was done intentionally, whatever, and to target because many, I'm gonna say it, black folks are impulse shoppers. That like, oh, this a 55, a 65 inch. at
Yeah,
Target for $279. But you just bought a TV. You just bought a 55-inch, whatever. So now you got to go out and get a 65. Where you gonna put it? Where you gonna put it?
yeah.
So the intention was to break up the community and for people to go out and spend money. Yeah, I fell for it. Yeah, I fell for it. And I always speak on it. And I know some of my certain family members, they may listen, and I talk about it all the time. I knew that the one year I knew my grandmother was about to go down. And I knew it. And I said, this is going to be her last, probably. And I didn't want to say it, but I said, this is probably going to be her last Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that. I said, I could just tell. Like, oh, how you know? I said, because she keep crying every time we come up here. And she never cried. And she always kept reminiscing on how good of grandkids we were. Like, yeah, we've been the best to her. She didn't have to worry about us being in and out of jail and all of that. And I said, she knows she about to check out. So what some of my family members did, it was her last Thanksgiving. They decided to run out like 6 o'clock. They'll get flat screen TVs and different things that's and I was pissed. I was pissed because my grandmother had told us, don't come. She was like, it's snowing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about coming if the roads is bad. But I said, and I told my brother, no, we got to go. This is probably it. This is her last one. And I just felt it. And so we made it. But the rest of the family members got caught up in old Saint Nick and those prices and ran off. That ain't a part of our culture. Our culture was Thanksgiving that you come over there, whether some people come over there 1 in the afternoon too, but you're damn near there to 12. You're putting in a shift and a half with your family members, drinking, playing cards, watching football, cracking jokes, arguing, whatever the case is, arguing, then you come back together and you're just one big family. But they tried to divide all of that. Like, we gonna get some of y'all to go out and spend some of this money on. Because let's be honest, even when you think about kids, what the hell is it to buy them for the holiday? They have everything. They got cell phones. Uh, they got tablets. Uh, shit, you only can have so many gaming systems, whatever. And now I don't even know. I think going into like was it GameStop and all that stuff, that shit kind of outdated because
Yeah.
they download games and stuff now
Yep.
and all that stuff. So what is it to get a kid and all that? What is it to wrap under a tree for a kid that they don't already have? I think that's a wake up call to say, yo, it's time to let that shit go. Start a new
Books.
culture. It's time to move forward with that ideology, whatever. Unless you talk about little 1, 2, 3 year old, whatever. But once they see like 5, 6, 7, 8, they kind of wise to the game. But y'all keep on doing what y'all doing.
Books. I always tell people books. I know they don't have savings bonds anymore, but anything like that, man. Anything that you can get a child that's gonna help them, do it. Buy them a tool set. People say a tool set, yeah, let them learn to build stuff. Can't help. Get them an instrument. Flute, drums, clarinet, guitar, keyboard. Never know.
Yeah,
Never know.
yeah, you can. I mean, even with like young girls, when they say oh, I want to be this, I want to do hair and all that stuff, you can start getting supplies and stuff like that. So but you got to know what they want to do, and then you can say, "Hey, oh, this is what you want to do." At a young age, you can start building their interest in that. So there is things, but for the most part, I just I think we're getting to the point that that should be a cultural shift. as far and you know, as you read social media posts of people like, oh, it's almost Thanksgiving, it's not the same anymore. Well, it's not going to be the same because we've lost a lot of our um, valuable members in our family that kind of had structure and kept everything in place, and no one has taken that place over, the younger generation. So we, it's probably will never be the same again. You only can hope that somebody says, "Okay, I'll take the lead on this and move forward." But other than that, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Those days of 20, 30 people being at the house and all that stuff, it's probably over.
In the trash.
It's probably over, and
Unless people just drop in and grab something and then leave all day. But yeah, they're because we're doing something different this year. My brother's like, yeah, he's not doing all that cooking. He said, we just had sandwiches. I was like, shit, I'll bring the chicken. I was like, it's cool by me because I'm just looking for the Cowboys to play.
oh, they winning it. They winning right now. So I guess by Thanksgiving time there might be a major playoff a game implication for their playoff season. Uh,
Yeah, they
if
winning
they
right
can stay
now,
afloat. Yeah,
33-16.
yeah. Well, you know, and again, we always talk about these subjects is much more. We just wanted to give different perspectives from our end of it, but I'm always going to say there during this time, stay awake, be wise, be on the lookout. Like again, it's desperate people doing desperate things, and people may not have what you have, and just don't be vulnerable. Don't make yourself vulnerable to others because you never know. And for folks, parents, and all that stuff, watch out for those when you see a bunch of young teenagers or people wearing those ski masks. It ain't for it ain't for how they when it first came out for COVID and all that. They trying to rob you. If you see a bunch of them and they got ski masks, they trying to come. Even that's a thing in schools that they taking people ski mask and they beating up other kids because they got on ski masks, and then they out in the community and they robbing, and some of them brandishing. They got guns and stuff like that. Be mindful. If you see 3 or 4 of them coming up the street, and of course it gets darker early, shit, you better hurry up and get where you're going because it could be trouble. It could be trouble. So you always got to be on the lookout. Pay attention to your surroundings. And even if you in your community and you feel and you see 3 or 4 people walking around and you're in your car, it's okay to start your car back up and ride around a little bit till you think, yeah, I'm gonna ride around the corner or go back up this way and then come back. And because you just never know. You just never know. And they don't have no remorse. So like when I see stuff that like 75, 80-year-old people get they carjacked and they drag like you just you don't know, and that's a part of the culture and all that stuff, and anger and not having empathy and compassion for others. So just be mindful and alert. And again, we always talk about this.
That's
Leave
crazy
these
right there, boy.
what's
That's
that?
wild as hell, man. That you got to say that kind of stuff, but it's where we are. That is where we are.
Don't leave these packages and stuff in your damn car visible or whatever, because they out to get that. Of course, we already know unless you got, and you can't do anything either with that. You can have a ring camera and all that stuff. But you have packages on your porch, whatever. They still gonna try to get that shit. Especially when you have like it look like it's in a sneaker box or whatever. They getting that shit. They coming to get it. So of course, have it delivered to somewhere that maybe someone's at home. Sometimes people have stuff delivered at their job. The thing is, you don't want to have too much at your job because then the front office start getting irritated because packages is uh, lined up that they can't even have no room to move around because but some people feel like it's safer. I'm at work. If something's gonna be delivered, let it be delivered to my job. That way I can get it and then take it because sometimes packages get delivered early and be on your porch for 5, 6 hours. Eventually during this time, somebody gonna come get that shit. They're gonna come get it.
Yeah, I'm missing a couple of things myself, so yeah, I got to dig into it.
But we gonna wrap it out here. Any closing comments, Herb, on this subject about the shift in Trump and the way things are going and the way things are headed?
Yeah, people need to realize Trump or any president for that matter, they only control so much. You have more control over your individual life than just about any other politician, local, state, or federal. And as long as you exert that and exert it properly, I mean, you got some people out here making bad decisions. And sometimes for a lot of people, they're only a bad decision away from disaster. So, make those decisions, but make sure you get the necessary and pertinent information to make a good decision. And if you can't make that good decision, delay it. Delay it until you can. And growth and understanding the curves.
What you got on the menu tonight? Some hot wings.
No, man, no. I gotta relegate that to the weekend. I had some last night, so yeah, that's the weekends only. I think I might just throw a piece of salmon in the oven, some rice.
Okay. Okay. Big Shank said, good show tonight, fam. No problem. No doubt. No doubt. Thanks for tuning in, whatever. So again, it's that time. It depends, like Herb said, Trump, whoever, it doesn't matter. You have to govern yourself, govern your principles, govern your culture, govern your environment, govern your belief system, how you've been brought up, and that could supersede a lot of things because you used to move in one way, and if you consistent, you're gonna always move that way, and no matter what, uh, you're gonna be faced with a lot of challenges. But when something is instilled in you, then you still gonna be consistent on how you move, and you got the ultimate counter punch for any of that. Like no matter what they throw at you, because of your upbringing and the thing, your value system and all this stuff, you'll be able to survive it. With that said, everybody, stay safe, be alert, uh, be mindful, and continue to have good self awareness because you may know the path that you're going, but you never know what the next person is trying to do in their mindset. So that's why it's always important to be self aware. And again, I always try to send this message out to ladies. Um, and I know y'all love the holiday season. You love being out there. Again, travel with somebody,
Yeah,
be protective. When you go get gas, stop going to get gas late at night or first thing in the morning. And when it's still dark, whatever, make sure it's a situation where it's lighted up, that there's people around, and do what you got to do to stay safe. Because again, I don't know what y'all be saying. I'll be seeing a lot of missing grown ass people that keep posting on social media. A lot of grown ass people missing too, along with kids. So I don't know where these grown people going or where they end up missing, but it's a lot of grown people end up missing, whatever. Well, we just gotta all stay alert. So with that said, I'm out. On to the next one. Again, everybody be safe. See you next time. We out. Peace.